While the slogam was on, there was a disturbance.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Continuous.
I don't know. That's the reason. Anyhow, we'll start the prayer.
Okay.
Om Makratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः ॐ श्रीमेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. So namaste once again everyone. So before we start the class, I just want to make one small announcement, which is that my internet is down today in Nana Nani. So I am actually connected to my mobile, what is that called, personal hotspot. So I don't know how much data is there. So as long as the data works, this class will go on. But suppose in between, there is a drop in the signal and the class stops, we will stop there. I mean, because I don't have internet, I can't try reconnecting and all that. And then we'll continue from wherever we are left off in the next class. Because I already complained and those people said they will come by tomorrow to repair it. It was only evening I discovered this problem. So this is one small caveat I want to give right before we start the class. Okay. So now, fourth mantra, we will read the mantra and also the bhashyam and then continue the discussion. Tasmai saho vacha. I want to hear.
Excuse me, Guruji.
Somebody saying something?
Excuse me, Guruji. Yes, this is Prema.
Yeah.
No, your voice is breaking up and it's like very metallic, and it's very hard to understand what you're saying. I mean, on my part, I don't know if anybody else
the
is
same
having
case
problem.
with everybody?
No, we can
I
hear
don't
you
know.
clearly.
Okay, so that must be some local problem with your network.
Okay, thank you, Guruji.
Okay. Tasmai saho vacha.
Tasmai sahovacha
द्वे विद्ये वेदितव्ये
द्वे वेदितव्ये
इति हस्म इति यद् ब्रह्मविदः वदन्ति
यद्ब्रह्मविदः वदन्ति
परा चैव परा च
परा
Breaking.
So that is breaking, huh? And
Yes.
I will try to continue as long as possible because again, the hotspot, my data now, I don't know, as I said, how much is there. But
Guruji, maybe
too
you can
bad.
turn off the video.
Sorry?
You can turn off the video. Just keep
That is a
the
good
voice
idea.
only.
Yes, only do voice. Yeah, that's also not a bad idea. So let me see. Video, I will stop. Okay.
Good.
Now you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll now read the Bhashyam. Tasmai
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 Shaunakaya Angiraha
Shaunakaya
Angiraya
Ha Kila
Akila
Uhacha
Uvacha
Kim
Kim
Ityuchyate
Ityuchyate
Dve Vidye Veditavye Iti
Dve vidye veditavye iti
Evam Hasma Kila
evam hasma
Kila
kila
Yat Brahma Vidaha
Yat
yat
Brahma
brahma
Vidah
vedat
Vedarthabhignaha
Veda
vedabhignaha
Paramartha Darshinaha
paramarthadarshinaha
Vadanti
vadanti
Kete
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 Ityaha
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 Paracha
paracha
Paramatma Vidya
paramatma vidya
Aparacha
aparacha
Dharma Dharma Sadhana Tatphala Vishaya
dharma dharma
sadhana
sadhana
tatphala
tatphala
vishaya.
vishaya.
Very good. So, in the previous mantra, Shaunaka had asked his teacher, Angiras, a very profound question. Kasminnu bhagavo vijñāte sarvamidam vijñātam bhavati. O Lord, what is it that, knowing which, everything becomes known? Now, in this mantra, the Upanishad is narrating the answer given by Angiras, which is Dve vidye veditavye yat brahma vidaha vadanti parachaiva aparacha. Two types of knowledge are to be acquired, which the knowers of Brahman speak of, and which are called paravidya and aparavidya, the higher knowledge and lower knowledge. So, as we were seeing in the last class, the moment the Purva Pakshi hears this, he jumps with an objection, which appears to be a tenable objection. Because according to him, the teacher, instead of answering the question asked by the student, seems to be evading the answer and is appearing to say something which is irrelevant given the context. The question asked was, what is it that knowing which everything becomes known? And the answer he is giving is two types of knowledge are to be acquired. So there doesn't seem to be any connection between the question and the answer. And in the last class, we were discussing this objection raised by the Purva Pakshi, which of course Bhashyakara paraphrases. So we will read the objection also. Okay. Nanu
Nano
No.
Kasmin Vidhite
Kasmin
Kasmin
Vidite
vidite
Sarvavid Bhavati Iti
sarvavid bhavati iti
Shaunakena Prishtam
Shaunakena
shaunakena prishtam
Tasmin Vaktavye
tasmin
Vaktavye
vaktavye
Aprishtam
aprishtam aga
Angiraha
Angiraha
Dve vidye ityadina.
Devidya
So here Bhashyakara is saying, okay, this person has raised an objection and this is the objection. So Bhashyakara himself is stating the objection raised by the Purva Pakshi. Of course, he doesn't use probably the exact words, but he is paraphrasing the whole objection. Nanu. Nanu indicates, as we all know, objection. Like in all games, we have got this timeout. While one of the teams or one of the players raises a dispute about any rule of the game. Especially we will see this in football games and all that. One second.
Voice dropping, Guruji.
No,
Last
that's because a
is-
call came. Now it's okay? Hello?
He's there, but voice is not coming.
Dropping.
Voice dropped, Guruji.
Yes, Guruji.
Now you can't hear me properly.
Now we
Now-
can hear it now.
It's fluctuating.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, if it is very bad, then you please tell me so that we can continue this class in next week.
No, whatever you said is very clear, Guruji.
Till now it's clear. Okay. So, only when it comes to Mundaka Upanishad, the voice gets dropped. Probably the network there also is a non-Vedanti. It doesn't want. Or it's a Purva Pakshi. It doesn't want class to continue. Anyhow, we will continue to the best extent possible.
Yes.
So, the Purva Pakshi is raising a dispute. As I was saying, in football match and hockey match and all, we have seen, suppose there is a foul, then somebody will raise the hand and the referee will come and he will try to resolve the problem and all that. So, like that, here also, Nanu is asking for timeout. Stop. So, he is raising a dispute. He says, Kasmin vidite, having known which thing, Sarvavid bhavati, one becomes knower of all. Iti Shaunakena prishtam. This was the question asked by Shaunaka. Tasmin vaktavye, that should be told or is to be told. That is, what should have been told was, what was that one thing, knowing which everything is as well known. That is what is expected of the teacher. Instead, aprishtam, unasked, that is what is not asked, aha, is told. What did he tell? Dve vidye, two types of knowledge. Ityadina, starting thus. So, in the answer to the Shaunaka's question, Angira's reply started with the statement Dve vidye. Two types of knowledge are to be acquired. Shaunaka never asked how many types of knowledge I have to acquire and all. He asked only one very profound question. So, he will say, I am asking for something and you are answering something else. So, the Purva Pakshi very rightly is feeling that there is no synchronization between the question asked and the answer given. He feels perhaps the teacher did not understand. Or maybe the teacher had some hearing problem or something, like we discussed in the last class. And that is the objection. Now, Bhashyakara's response is this. We will read. Samadhanam
Samadhanam
Naisha doshaha
Naisha
Doshaha
Krama apekshatvad
Krama
Apekshva
Prativachanasya
Prativachanasya
Aparahi vidya
Aparahi vidya
Avidya
Avidya
Sa nirakartavya
Nirakatya
Tadvishayehi
Tadvishayehi
Vidite
Vidite
Na kinchit
Nakinchit
Tatvatah viditam
तत्त्वतः विदितं
स्यात् इति
स्यात् इति
निराकृत्य हि
निराकृत्य हि
पूर्वपक्षं पश्चात्
पूर्वपक्षं पश्चात्
सिद्धान्तः
सिद्धान्तः
वक्तव्यः
वक्तव्यः
भवति इति
भवति इति
न्यायात्.
न्यायात्.
So Bhashyakara is giving a very clear answer based upon Nyaya Shastra. So first we will briefly understand how Bhashyakara is tackling the objection. So in response to Shaunaka's question, Angiras says two vidyas are to be acquired, Paravidya and Aparavidya. So first he talks about Paravidya in the order of sequence. And this Paravidya is Paramatma Vidya, knowledge of Paramatma. And Paramatma Vidya means what? Brahma Vidya. And what is this Brahman? Brahman is Jagat Karanam, Mula Karanam. And since taking the example of clay and pot, the essence of the cause pervades the effect. Therefore, if one knows the Jagat Karanam Brahma, then everything is as well known. This is the hidden message in the answer given by Angiras. Therefore, the first answer he gives is Paravidya is the Vidya having acquired by which one becomes all-knowing. And this is the first part of the reply by Angiras. So it is not that Shaunaka was not given the answer. Angiras' statement contains the answer to Shaunaka's question. Therefore, first of all, according to Bhashyakara, Purvapakshi should not say that Angiras did not understand the question or he is answering something else. Angiras has very well understood the question and he has actually answered Shaunaka's question by saying Paravidya. But this is again, Purvapakshi is Purvapakshi, he will not be satisfied. He will say, okay, I can see what from where you are coming, I can even accept what you say. But then Angiras should have stopped there. He should have said, you acquire Paravidya. By acquiring or knowing Paravidya, everything will be as well known. So why did he go and mention extra things like Aparavidya, etc., which are all unnecessarily confusing? And this Purvapakshi is who nobody else, even we students have got these kind of questions, isn't it? What is being asked? Arjuna had the same question as I said in the last class. In the third chapter beginning, he says, you tell me one thing, tells Krishna. Arjuna is asking for something, Krishna is giving some other answer. So this is a very genuine question that something is asked. So suppose somebody asks, what is your name? Instead of telling your name, you start with, oh, my great grandfather's name was this, and this is his son's name, and that is my grandfather's name, and all you start. Why you go all that? You never ask, nobody asks what is your great grandfather's name. So this is a very genuine question because once you start in that, it is very confusing. But Bhashyakara gives two answers for that. Why Angiras chose to reply in this manner, Bhashyakara gives two answers. Actually, it is not Bhashyakara. Bhashyakara gives only one answer, but a Tikakara, who is a sub-commentator of what Bhashya on the Bhashyam, he gives another angle, another answer. In fact, there is a Tika called Ekadashopanishad Maniprabhat. It's a very brief commentary on 11 Upanishads. There, in the sub-commentary, he mostly goes by the Bhashyam of Adi Shankaracharya. Sometimes he gives an explanation by way of adding to what Bhashyakara has said. And here the Tikakara gives the reason why Aparavidya was talked about. And he says that even though Aparavidya is not going to make the person all-knowing, but Aparavidya is required for Chitta Shuddhi. Because Aparavidya deals with karma and upasana. So Aparavidya is karma upasana vidya, and this vidya is necessary for Chitta Shuddhi. And Chitta Shuddhi is necessary for getting Paravidya, which will make the person all-knowing. And therefore, as a stepping stone, Aparavidya is mentioned. See, this is how people who interpret the mantras, Upanishad mantras and all, they should be able to, because Upanishad contains lot of contradictions, contradictory statements. It is the job of the commentator, the Bhashyakara or the sub-commentators to clarify to the students who are learning why, a certain thing is stated in a particular way. In fact, one Swamiji gives a very beautiful example. He says, when you go to a 5-star hotel, or for that matter, any hotel, right? First, what will you be given? You will be given a menu. And you see all items. Suppose then you say, I want a dosa, masala dosa. Then immediately dosa will not come. First, that fellow will bring a glass of water. Then the plate will come, or some banana leaf will come. Then only the main dish will come. Now you cannot tell that fellow, hey, I ordered for a masala dosa. I did not order for this plate or this banana leaf and water and all. And why are you bringing all of them? The point is, without plate or that banana leaf and water to drink, the dosa cannot be consumed. So it's a beautiful example with the connection between Aparavidya and Paravidya. Similarly, before this Paravidya dosa comes, the Aparavidya plate or Aparavidya banana leaf has to come. So it is not useless. Even though that itself is not Paravidya, even though Aparavidya cannot give fulfillment, Aparavidya cannot give moksha, Aparavidya does not make the person all-knowing, which Paravidya does, but at the same time, Paravidya cannot come if one has not gone through Aparavidya. One has to know karma and practice karma yoga. One has to do upasana, meditation. And then when he has attained sufficient chitta shuddhi, he or she becomes qualified for Paravidya. And therefore, as a stepping stone, Aparavidya is mentioned. So this is one answer given by the Tikakara, Maniprabha Tika. The second answer which Bhashyakara gives is that any communication, an effective and comprehensive communication, involves two stages. One is the negation of misconception, and second is the giving of the right understanding. So removing or negating the misconception and giving the right understanding, both of them are required in any effective communication. If only the right understanding is given and misconception is not removed, what Pujya Swamiji used to say, in Hindi, ye bhi theek hai, wo bhi theek hai. Means what? This is also okay, that is also okay. And it will leave the person totally confused. In fact, I am reminded of one doctor who used to stay in Delhi opposite our house. He's a Bengali doctor. Not a very great doctor or anything, but then whenever there's an emergency, we used to go to him. So if you go to him, then he will say, you are having, you tell him the symptoms of what problem. And then you ask the doctor, doctor, is this problem I'm having because of some stomach upset? So doctor will say, हो भी सकता है, नहीं भी हो सकता है. It is possible that it is because of stomach upset. It is possible it is not because of stomach upset. So you ask him any question, you are no more wiser than what you were before asking the question. And therefore, here, even though Apara Vidya is not going to give fulfillment or the status of being all-knowing, still Apara Vidya is to be introduced, because if person is going through this Vedic method, then the first person he comes across is Veda. In the Veda is Karma Kanda. A person starts his association with Vedas, not with Vedanta, Upanishads, etc. He starts his association with Veda Purva Bhaga. He starts his association with Gayatri Mantra. He starts with Sandhya Vandanam or Samita Dhanam, etc. Then because in this Vedic Purva Bhaga, you are introduced when you are a brahmachari. So Veda Purva Bhaga comes into his life first. And they say that the first impression is a lasting impression. The first impression is a very, very powerful impression. And therefore, his exposure to Veda is in the form of Karma Kanda only. He first gathers the impression that this Veda Purva Bhaga itself will solve my problem of samsara, and give me moksha. Because as we have seen earlier, there are people, there are philosophers called Purva Mimamsakas, who believe that knowledge and practice of Veda Purva Bhaga itself will give moksha. And they believe that going to heaven is moksha. So they question the need to gain the knowledge of Brahman, Atma, Panchakosha, Shariratraya, etc. So for those Purva Mimamsakas, Apara Vidya itself is the means for moksha, and that is the conclusion of many people, in fact. Going to heaven or going to Vaikuntha or going to Kailasa is what moksha for them is. And let us understand their standpoint in little more detail. They say the first portion of Veda, called Karma Kanda, which itself gives whatever a human being wants in life. What does the human being want? He wants artha, money, wealth, etc. So Veda Purva Bhaga prescribes Avahanti Homa. So if you perform Avahanti Homa, it says you will get all the wealth that you desire. Then, of course, if he wants Kama, Kama means all desires, other desires other than wealth. There are so many yagas, rituals, etc. prescribed. Jyotishtoma ityadi, which Veda promises will take you to heaven. So even Kama desires, by performing rituals like this Jyotishtoma, one can get. Then Dharma, Punyam you will get, it says, by all activities which are prescribed in the Karma Kanda. And even Moksha, because according to them, what is Moksha? Moksha is a state of happiness. And they say there is happiness in the heaven because Veda says so. There is no dukkham in heaven, in Swarga. So you go to Swarga, you will get moksha. And therefore, according to them, all Purusharthas are available in Karma Kanda itself. Therefore, karma kanda, aparavidya itself is final, ultimate. And that alone is to be studied with attention. This is the standpoint or argument of where this Mimamsakas. Then they are asked, what is this Vedanta? Why there is a Vedanta? Why there are Upanishads? Well, they are also part of Vedas only. Upanishads are Antabhaga of Vedas. And there is a saying in this Purva Mimamsakas, Vedo Sharabhaga hai. According to them, this Vedanta is a Sharabhaga. What is Sharabhaga? Typically, in every country or in every state, there will be some fertile land, some desert land, and some barren land. So similarly, according to them, Karma Kanda is fertile land because all four Purusharthas are growing there. Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. And in Vedanta, nothing is grown. Vedanta talks about Brahman, which is Ashabdam, Asparsham, Arupam, Abhyayam. No sound is there, no color is there, no taste is there, nothing is there. And this Brahman cannot be seen also. Therefore, this Vedanta is like a barren land. Karma Kanda is fertile land and Vedanta is a barren desert land which is useless. And that is why Karma Kanda alone is the main Vidya, which you are calling Apara Vidya. According to us, it is Appar Vidya, higher Vidya. That is what they say. You call it Apara Vidya, we will call it Appar Vidya. And this is one particular misconception of this Purva Mimamsaka, which is to be negated. Then there are others who actually do a little bit of compromise. A little more next stage, They say, no, we don't agree with these Purva Mimamsakas. For us, both Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda are required for moksha. We have seen these arguments in detail earlier. Jnana Karma Samuchayavadis. So according to them, both karma and jnanam are required to attain moksha, and both have to be pursued simultaneously. So here in his reply, Bhashyakara addresses both group of people. Those who have got the misconception that Aparavidya itself will give moksha, and the second group who say that jnanam and karma together, Paravidya and Aparavidya practicing together, will give moksha. All these ideas have to be knocked off. Otherwise, what will happen? A third group will emerge who will say there are four paths to moksha. Already it is there, that group is there. Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga. You can choose any one of them and attain moksha. They will say they have their own theory. So we have got so many such ideas, but which is the correct idea, nobody knows. And therefore, they need to be dismissed by giving the right understanding as per the Upanishads. And for that, the negation or dismissal of the Purva Paksha is required. And that is what Bhashyakara is trying to do. And therefore, first of all, those misconceived ideas are to be removed, they are to be negated. Now it's like this, like in every building project. When we have to do construction of a building, what is the first thing that we do? We will do site clearance first, isn't it? So that at least for laying the foundation, the site is clear. And that is similar to our attaining Chitta Shuddhi. The mind should be very clear, purified with sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, so that when we introduce Vedanta, we introduce Upanishad, it will go and the foundation will be laid, very powerful or strong foundation will be laid. So a person's mind is like a site where the building of the right understanding is to be built. So site clearance, ground leveling, etc. has to be done. And therefore, Apara Vidya is introduced. Is talked about in the beginning itself, in this mantra itself. What is its nature? What is its means? Where does it lead to? All those things are analyzed. Then it is negated as a moksha sadhanam, as a means for moksha. And then, once that is clear, it is established through Upanishad teachings that only Paravidya can give moksha, which is defined as freedom from samsara. Then the knowledge of Paravidya is given. If this approach is taken, there will be complete understanding, no confusion, and the teaching will remain very clearly in the mind of the person. And therefore, what we have to understand is communication involves these two stages: removal of misconception and giving of the right understanding. And because of this reason, both Paravidya and Aparavidya are introduced. And this is the answer given by Bhashyakara. We have already read the Bhashyam. Now let us see the word meanings. Okay. Naisha dosha, na esha dosha. Na means not. Esha means this, or whatever you have stated. The objection stated by the Purva Pakshi. Dosha, defect. So Naisha dosha means this answer given by Angiras is not defective, or the way Angiras has given the answer is not a defect. Is not wrong. Why? Because krama apekshatvat prativachanasya. Prativachanam means answer. So prativachanasya means of the answer. Krama apekshatvat means expectation of a particular order. The answer to the question is expected to be given in a particular order. So the answer is by Angiras is not a defect. Now what is the order? Bhashyakara will say that the order is first deal with Purva Paksha's standpoint, negation of the same, and then give the Siddhanta standpoint, and finally arrive at the conclusion. So first removing the misconception and then giving the right understanding is the order. So Purva Paksha Nirupanam, Tad Nishedam, and then Siddhanta Pratipadanam. This is the krama. This is the order of the answer. In fact, if you go to any court hearing, when two parties are, there are two sets of lawyers, arguing on a particular law point, the general practice is similar. One lawyer will say so many things. The other lawyer in his reply has to first negate whatever the other lawyer has said. He has to prove to the court or show evidence that what all the other lawyer said was not correct. And then he has to present his own case to the judge. So that is again, the very proper order of communication. And we should try to follow this order even in our normal communications. It will remove a lot of misconceptions, misunderstandings, confusion, etc. Okay. So therefore, Angiras has not done anything wrong because he has followed that method. And in this shloka, he has just introduced two vidyas. He is going to deal with each one of them in the mantras which are going to follow. And he is going to follow the above order. He is going to present both of them, one for negation and other to establish. So this Vakya krama apekshatvat prativachanasya is a sangraha vakya. That is we can call it a headline. Now Bhashyakara expands, further elaborates on this idea. We will read the Bhashyam. I think we have already read the Bhashyam, so we need not repeat it. But I will just read the Bhashyam so that it is refreshed in your mind. Aparahi vidya avidya sa nirakartavya tadvishayehi vidite na kinchit tatvatah viditam syat iti. So Bhashyakara explains his statement, apara hi vidya avidya. He, indeed. Apara vidya means the lower knowledge. Apara actually means lower. Para is higher, apara is lower. So here, apara vidya means lower knowledge. So what is lower knowledge? If you remember, earlier Bhashyakara had defined apara vidya as what? Dharma sadhana tatphala vishaya. The knowledge dealing with dharma, adharma, their means and their ends. That vidya is called apara vidya. And he says that apara vidya is actually avidya. Even though it is called apara vidya, but if we analyze their nature, really it is avidya. Avidya means what? It is not vidya at all. Now question is, does it mean apara vidya is useless? What happens to all those, priests and people who have spent 12 hours, 12 years, 15 years in the Patashala? They spend that time learning apara vidya only. So does it mean they have wasted their time? The answer is no. And there are two reasons. As I already said, one is that apara vidya becomes the means for preparing the person for para vidya, making a person eligible for jnana yoga. Jnana yogyata praptyartam apara vidya. And Pujya Swamiji presents it very nicely. He says, this fitness for para vidya is also twofold. One is, one has to develop the discipline of thinking properly. Proper thinking, the ability to think properly. And that is given by apara vidya. So apara vidya helps us to develop our thinking faculty. Even our modern education helps us for that only, Physics, chemistry, maths and all. Logical thinking, reasoning, all that is what we learn through all this modern education. So modern education is also included in this apara vidya. And those days, they used to study Nyaya, Vyakaranam, etc. in detail. In fact, entire Paninian grammar they will study. All Vedankas they will study. So I don't know how many of you have been exposed to Paninian Vyakaranam, the Ashtadhyayi. When you study Ashtadhyayi, you develop the discipline as to how to think. In fact, it is just like, olden days, I don't know what is it in olden days, writing a computer program. You have to think very logically how the program, the words that you use in the program or instruction that you use will be read by the computer, and then it will take some action. So you have to be your thinking has to be very clear. If you are a computer programmer, your thinking has to be very clear. And how Ashtadhyayi helps us in that? I will use some technical words which may be Greek and Latin for some of you, those who are not exposed to Ashtadhyayi. There is something called Anuvritti. Then Purvatra Siddham is there. Sapadi is there. Tripadi is there. So this Tripadi will be seeing Sapada Saptadhyayi. But Sapada Saptadhyayi will not be seeing the Tripadi. So as I said, these are all very logical way Panini Maharaj has written the 4,000 sutras. In fact, originally Panini ji wrote 8,000 sutras. But those days, you cannot publish anything unless it is put through the filter of other scholars. Even now also, if somebody is published paper in some scientific journal and all that, they have to submit the paper to some scholars who are experts in the subject, and they have to approve that paper. Then only it will be published in journals, scientific journals. So similarly, this Ashtadhyayi is a brilliant piece of work, and only who have studied Ashtadhyayi will really appreciate what it is. Totally changes your way of thinking. You become so logical, so systematic, so methodical in your thinking. Nothing is wasted. Not a single syllable is wasted. So there is, first of all, before learning the grammar through Ashtadhyayi, you have to learn the language of Ashtadhyayi. And that is the advantage, when you go and study in a Gurukulam and all like Anakatti, you are taught all these things. So the whole of Sanskrit grammar is bundled in 4,000 sutras. So it develops so much discipline in thinking, so much discipline in communication, etc. So this Sapada Saptadhyayi and Tripadi division is actually a wonderful division. If you study Ashtadhyayi, you will be in awe as to the brilliance of Sanskrit scholars of those times. The whole presentation of the grammar rules forces you to think, retain what you have learned, and recall it for later use, etc. So when you understand the way grammar works, Sanskrit grammar works, how Panini Maharaj introduces different sutras, how they are to be interpreted, etc., all those help us in understanding Vedanta. So how to think properly, how to interpret the Shastra, etc., that skill is given by Aparavidya, because Paninian grammar is a part and parcel of Aparavidya. So the first qualification is Aparavidya imparts the skill of thinking properly. Then the second is emotional maturity, which is also a very significant contribution of Aparavidya. Because some people are very good in thinking properly. Cognitive thinking is very good. But when it comes to emotions, they are highly vulnerable. I have seen many PhD scholars, their thinking is absolutely very, very organized. But they are emotionally very vulnerable people. In fact, emotional outburst is at the tip of their nose. A little spark, it becomes highly combustible. And that will not help in understanding and assimilating Vedanta. And therefore, the second thing required is emotional maturity. And Pujya Swamiji further says that emotional maturity means to be a complete person. And to be a complete person is to be a compassionate person. And compassionate means being compassionate to oneself and also to others. What a beautiful definition he gives of emotional maturity. Being compassionate to oneself and being compassionate to others. That is emotional maturity. How is it so? Even though Pujya Swamiji has not elaborated on this, but based on what he has explained elsewhere, we can say that I can be compassionate to others and myself only when I can appreciate the order, the cosmic order. When I see that everybody is in order, then it is easy to have compassion. When I see I am in the order, then I can be compassionate to myself. Otherwise, it is very difficult. Because there are some people who are very harsh on themselves. And when they are harsh on themselves, they end up being harsh with others also. It spills over. And therefore, being compassionate to oneself and to others is emotional maturity. And this emotional maturity can come when a person goes through this karma yoga upasana, which involves the understanding of Ishvara as order. And thus, Aparavidya first gives us the cognitive skill, the ability to think systematically. And the second is emotional maturity, when a person has gone through karma yoga and upasana, which are the subject matter of Aparavidya. That person becomes emotionally mature. So cognitive ability to think properly and emotional maturity, these two things are required for attaining Paravidya effectively. And thus, for becoming qualified for Paravidya, one requires Aparavidya. But we have to be careful. We should not understand this Aparavidya itself to be the ultimate. We should not get carried away. One should not consider that Aparavidya is the Vidya and we don't need anything else. And therefore, that idea, that obsession, that misconception is to be dismissed. And therefore, Aparavidya is introduced and its limitation is shown, and Aparavidya is declared as Avidya. So now we can say Aparavidya is Avidya. And we have a Shruti basis, Shruti Pramanam for this. Kathopanishad says, Duramete viparite vishuchi avidyaya cha vidyeti jnata vidya bhipsinam nachiketasam manye natva kama bahuvo lolupanta. Here, Lord Yamadharma Raja is describing the problem that most people face. Because the human being faces two paths. The path of Preya and the path of Shreya. Both these paths present themselves to a human being. That is what Karma Marga, Preya, Jnana Marga, Shreya. It is not possible to pursue both of them simultaneously. As Bhashyakara has already explained, Vidya Karma Virodhacha, they are diagonally opposite. One must reject one to follow the other. Preya or Karma Marga perpetuates avidya and Jnana Marga promotes vidya. Karma Marga is avidya Marga for the following reasons. What are they? Self-ignorance implies that one identifies with the body, mind, sense complex. Karta believes that he is performing a karma due to self-ignorance. And this is the main technical reason. When a person takes to karma marga, his objective is to increase his possessions. Such a person relies on external support, wealth, people, status, etc. to be secure and happy. This sense of incompleteness is the fundamental reason for doing the karma itself. And since karma marga leads from dependence to dependence and insecurity to insecurity, it is called avidya marga. Now, when you come to Jnana Marga questions the very basic assumption that one needs external support. Jnana Marga is like strengthening your legs, while Karma Marga is procuring a variety of crutches. The more walking sticks you have, the weaker your legs will become. So in Kathopanishad also, Karma Marga was presented as avidya. So one, we have got Shruti Pramanam. But then also we will ask why that Shruti is called Karma Vidya to be avidya. The answer is Karma Vidya is called avidya because Karma Vidya is based on the notion of kartritvam. Any karma is prescribed by the Shastra based on the idea that the jiva is a karta. Karta means doer. So doership based vidya is apara vidya. So apara vidya is based on the conclusion that the jiva is a karta, jiva is a bhokta. And these kartritva bhoktritva conclusions are based on what? Ignorance of the real nature, the real swarupa of a jiva. The real nature of a jiva is not karta. The real nature of a jiva is not bhokta. And therefore, kartritvam and bhoktritvam are ignorance-based conclusions. And therefore, this apara vidya is avidya. It does not give any new knowledge to you. And that is why Bhashyakara's second reason he gives, that apara vidya does not remove the fundamental ignorance. And vidya should be that which should remove ignorance. And it should remove the ignorance of this fundamental fact. And apara vidya is not removing the ignorance about the reality of the jiva. So even after knowing apara vidya, I will continue to be ignorant in terms of my knowledge about reality. My status of being ignorant of reality continues even after getting apara vidya. So before knowing apara vidya, I was ignorant of the reality. After knowing apara vidya also, I am ignorant of the reality. So since ignorance continues, apara vidya is called avidya. And therefore, for these two reasons, it is kartritva based, therefore avidya. And by knowing, getting the knowledge of apara vidya, I continue to be ignorant of the reality. For these two reasons, apara vidya is avidya. So we'll stop here because I have to go to the dining hall for dinner. We'll continue in the next class with whatever Bhashyakara, word meaning and all we will see. Okay. So let me at least in the end show my face. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Harihi Om.
Harihi Om.
Dhanyavadaha. Any question?
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಗುರುಜಿ ಧನ್ಯವಾದ
Note it down.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದः ಗುರುಜಿ.
Dhanyavadaha.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಗುರುಜಿ.
Yes, Guruji.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಗುರುಜಿ.
Your mobile cooperated very well.
Very well. No, that thanks to some suggestion somebody made that I should switch off the video. So that was a
Yes.
good suggestion. So that's good.
ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಮೀ
Yeah.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, Satish ji normally comes up with very good technological suggestions. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Hari Om. Thank you. So see you in the next class. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Guruji. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. Namaskaram.